All right, I'm just testing everything to see if my stuff still works because it's been a while. It's been a while, right? Um, okay, that was just my notification that you just heard going off. And now I'm gonna see if I'm live. Give me just a minute. Going off. And now, okay, it's working. So, this is just a test run. I'm gonna play a song and then I'll just give a little commentary for a few minutes. I won't keep you too long. We're in the early hours of the morning here on the East Coast of the United States. I'm in Virginia. I don't know where the rest of you all are, but let's see how this goes. She left you without a dope beat. Step two, step. We shouldn't have left you without a dope beat. Step two, baby girl. What would you do to get to me? What would you say to have your way? Would you give up or try again? If I hesitate to let you in, now would you be yourself or play a role? Tell all the boys or keep it low. If I say no, would you turn away or play me off? Or would you stay up? Don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. First you don't succeed. You can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Try again. I'm into you, you into me, but I can't let it go so easily. Not till I see what this could be eternity, or just a week. You know our chemistry is off the chain. It's perfect now, but will it change? This ain't a yes, this ain't a no. Just do your thing, we'll see how we go. Don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. Dust it off and try again. Try again. Don't succeed. Dust it off and try again. Try again. Try again. You don't wanna throw it all away. I might be shy on the first day. What about the next day? You don't wanna throw it all away. Again on the first day. What about the next day? Don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. Cause if at first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Try again. If at first you don't succeed, yeah, dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. If first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. If first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. If you don't succeed, baby, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Try again. We shouldn't have left you without a dope beat. Step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a dope beat. Step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two. Don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. Cause if the first you don't succeed, you can dust it off and try again. Dust yourself off and try again. Try again. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a dope beat. Step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two. It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you without a dope beat. Step two, step two, step two, step two, step two, step two. One more again. It's a new millennium, baby. Yeah, you guess what it is. All right. Angry, right? So the last time that I was consistently doing live streams was sometime around when my sister got married. My sister got married in September of last year, and many of you all may not realize it, but during the time that, you know, we're part of the bridal party, we're happy, we're celebrating, there were certain things taking place online where myself and a good friend were frankly being of a divorce. And then on top of all of that, I had a very serious health crisis in the earlier part of this year. And so I just needed to step away from not only doing live streams, but frankly, I needed to step away from dealing with a lot of people on social media on a personal level, because a lot of people on here get extremely vicious when they get upset. And then also, this is just a warning to all of you as fellow Black women in this sector. There are some people who won't like you at all, and they feel like the best way to attack you is to try to get close to you. And that's why I've said this a couple of times on my other channel. Every Jesus has their Judas, and every Caesar has their Brutus. You know, we will all have people who try to get close to us just to attack us. And then there are other situations where you will have disagreements with other Black women, and instead of just understanding that, okay, this is a person where I don't like them, they don't like me. Unfortunately, sometimes as Black women, when we don't like each other, there are some who will make it their mission to try to destroy you. And they will want everyone else to feel the same vitriol for you that they do. And frankly, I didn't have time to deal with petty online disagreements when I was literally in a situation where I was fighting for my life. And also, there have been times where I've just not really wanted to participate in these social media discussions. And a lot of things have taken place in the sector over the last year or so. And so I just wanted to give my overall opinions on certain things. Now, I want you all to understand that it is still my belief that all of us who log onto these social media apps absolutely have the right to support whoever we want. We have the right to go wherever we want to go. And I will stand on that, whether I agree with you or who you support. But what I will say is this: If you support people who are anti-Black women, then when you get burned by those people, this is not a place that you can come to for support, comfort, or empathy. Okay, because I'm going to look at you and be like, well, sweetheart, you should have known where you were going when you went into that space, right? I mean, many of us as Black women have a Christian background, and it's like, okay, well, when in Rome, you have to understand you're in Rome. You have to do as the Romans do, and so on and so forth. So when in Niggerville, when in Nakerstan, you have to understand where you are. And if you willfully choose to enter into certain spaces, then you are responsible for the consequences of those actions. And frankly, I have been very appalled by the fact that there are certain content creators in these spaces who, on the one hand, claim to support their fellow Black women, but on the other hand, don't support a Black woman unless that is a woman who is kissing your ass. Okay? And outside of that, you only support Black men. And so when those Black men are like the honest truth and they prove themselves to be affiliated with the manosphere spaces that they come from, you get upset when other Black women look at you and say, well, hey, sis, we knew he came from this environment and we were trying to warn you. You get more upset with us than you do with the motherfucker who put the knife in your back. I don't have any empathy for you. I don't have any empathy, any sympathy. And frankly, I don't care about your feelings being hurt. Because you were more willing to side with a man than you were your fellow sisters. And when we were having conversations on this channel about the differences in opinions in divested spaces, understand that just because I don't comment on things doesn't mean I don't see it. I saw a lot of you raggedy motherfuckers on other channels saying that it was divisive for us to have these conversations, only for you very women to be the main ones complaining about what's happening in divested spaces. I saw you raggedy motherfuckers supporting a decrepit bitch when she was lying and telling you all things to suggest that I'm not a biological woman, when my womanhood damn near killed me in March and April of this year. My periods caused me to bleed so heavily that I almost bled to death. I had to have a blood transfusion. As a matter of fact, I had to have 4 pints of blood transfused into my body in April of this year because I damn near bleed to death from the heaviness of my periods. Only to find out that there are women all over the world dealing with this issue. And the majority of the women who experience abnormally heavy bleeding during our periods are Black women and other women of color. And then when all that shit dies down, everyone wants to just move on from it. And it's like, well, wait a minute. How do you expect men, regardless of racial color, how do you expect men to treat Black women when this is how we treat each other? You don't like a Black woman, so you want to see her destroyed. You don't like a Black woman, so you do everything in your power to defame her character. You don't like a Black woman, so you think it's funny for you to be doxing someone, and then you blame other Black women for it. And frankly, it feels like we've gotten to a space in this sector where instead of wanting to help other Black women, there are a lot of Black women in this sector who are hateful of Black women. A lot of these women hate other Black women. You want to destroy other Black women. And you want to capitalize off of Black women. And I don't care how much it stunts my growth to say this, but that's some fucked up shit. It's always going to be fucked up, and I'm never going to act like that's okay. How many times have I come on here and told you that just because I don't like another Black woman doesn't mean that I want you to feel that way? A lot of times I only speak on certain things publicly when a raggedy bitch speaks on me. If you talk shit about me publicly, then you give me license to air you the fuck out. But that doesn't mean that I want to see you destroyed. That doesn't mean I want to see you canceled. And that doesn't mean that I have an issue with other people working with you. I am just stating my problem with you. But certain other people in this sector do not operate the same way. And I just have to be honest. A lot of these rotten bitches in this sector demonized myself and my friend for pointing out some of the very things you all are talking about now. And not only that, some of you have made the focal point of your content on degrading and attacking other Black women simply because you disagree with certain viewpoints. And if we're ever going to move to anything progressive as a group of women, we got to get out of this space where we hate other Black women over differences in opinion. Listen, I'm going to say this shit and I don't give a fuck how anyone feels about it. But I've had a person saying that I copied them, and frankly, that's not the truth. Leah doesn't copy anybody. I stand on my own 2 feet, and I do that very well. That's why most people have a problem with me. Because when you come across me, I'm soft-spoken. I can't help the tone of my voice. When people meet me face-to-face, I can't help the fact that, I do look a little bit younger than I am. But being soft-spoken doesn't mean that I'm weak, and it doesn't mean that I'm timid, and it doesn't mean that you can walk all over me. And when I show people that, then all of a sudden, I'm this terrible person. And it's like, no, I'm not a terrible person. I can be a raggedy bitch. I can be mean. I can be evil. But if you bring that out of me, it's your own fault. And I don't apologize for standing up for myself. I don't apologize for having my own opinions. And guess what? I don't expect any of you to apologize for standing up for yourselves. I don't expect any of you to apologize for having your own opinions. But all I'm saying is you can't say that you're self-first or divested or autonomous or sovereign and then move in a way that is the complete opposite of that. I'm not telling you who you can and can't support, but what I am saying is it looks funny and suspicious for you to claim to be supportive of Black women while you're throwing other Black women under the bus while putting Black men on a pedestal. You have a problem with a guy in this space who is a part of the rainbow community, but you're supporting heterosexual Black men. Some of you all are too foolish to understand that the only reason that heterosexual Black men are in these spaces is because they're trying to sway our opinions. They don't want to see Black women be self-first. They want to be able to go out and chase after their preferences. And when those relationships don't work, they want a place to come back to. They want to be able to come back to the self-sufficient and attractive Black women. When the preferences reject them or do them dirty, they want to be able to come back to us. And that is why they are in these spaces. There was a time where Black women in these spaces, whether you are a content creator or a supporter of content creators, there was a time where Black women in these spaces would never be in conversation with these motherfucking niggers. It would never fucking happen. But guess what some of you all did? When we raised certain concerns, you called us extreme. You said we were self-hating. And it's like, how is it self-hating when I'm a Black woman telling you as my fellow Black woman to look out for yourself? How is that self-hating? And now all of this stuff has taken place in the sector, and you're all upset and acting surprised as if you don't understand where it came from. And let me tell you something. I'm not defending nobody in this space who willfully supported someone who came from the Black manosphere. You understand? The honest truth used to be part of the Black manosphere. And do you understand that they're probably sending men to our spaces to try to be in conversation with you? See, it's one thing for one of these motherfuckers to come over here and be like, I don't agree with you, but I'm just cloud watching. That's one thing. But it's another thing for a person to pretend to be supportive of Black women and then get a motherfucker on their panel who talked about raping and otherwise harming Black women. And you all sat in that chat and super chatted that motherfucker as he did that. And to those of you who did that, and to those of you who support that raggedy bitch, you don't have a right to think that you can call out other Black women when you supported a man who sat in conversation with another man who talked about raping and otherwise harming Black women. You're not equipped to do that. And I would ask you, if you have a problem with me saying that, I would ask you to please do me a favor and unsubscribe from my channels. I don't have the patience for fence sitters. I don't have the patience for people who are rape apologists. I don't have the patience for any of that shit. Because when we were calling that shit out 2.5 years ago, a lot of you motherfuckers had a problem with it. A lot of you did. And look at what's taking place all over the news. Day after day after day, there is story after story of Black women being raped, assaulted, killed. There was a case down here. I live in the Hampton Roads of Virginia. Hampton Roads area of Virginia. There was a case down here where a Black male shot his girlfriend, and his mother, the girl's mother, saw a commotion going on. And apparently she didn't really know what it was about, but she saw that her daughter was involved in an altercation. So she went over to see what was going on because, of course, as a good mother, she wanted to protect her daughter. The man shot and killed her, killed 2 other women. And in addition to shooting his girlfriend in the shoulder, he shot another woman. And these raggedy motherfuckers are talking about defunding the police. You know, when I did a video a while back telling you all what happened in the Breonna Taylor situation and the fact that she went to answer the door while her boyfriend hid behind the couch. There was another content creator who responded to a comment in her comment section because someone sent me the screenshot. Someone was like, well, you know, there's a police recording where the boyfriend admits that he hid behind the couch and da-da-da-da-da. And that raggedy bitch was like, well, you know, do you really know whether or not that person is telling the truth about what happened? She didn't listen to the police recording. But since we don't fuck with each other, she was like, well, you don't know if that's what actually happened. And it's like, no, you dumb bitch. That is what happened. He hid behind the couch while baby girl went to answer the door and got shot up and killed and then tried to get GoFundMe money for it. And then these low-life bitches in the so-called community were giving him GoFundMe money. We're giving George Floyd GoFundMe money. And it was Black women on social media who had to say, well, wait a minute. What about Breonna Taylor and her family? She's the one who lost her life. And all she did was wake up in the middle of the night to go answer her door because the police came looking for someone who wasn't there, looking for a motherfucker who had already been arrested earlier that day. Same thing with that girl down in Atlanta, the lawyer whose boyfriend came into her apartment and shot and killed her. And everyone was like, well, why was she dealing with a man like that? And it's like, well, wait a minute. Nobody knows whether or not she let him into the building or not. If she didn't let him into the building, that building was supposed to be locked. How did he get access to a locked building where he was not a resident? He was not on anyone's lease. How was he able to get into the building to shoot and kill her? And since he had an extensive criminal record, why was he walking the streets anyway? Why are you letting people out into the streets when they are career criminals? Why aren't you keeping their asses in jail? Nobody wants to have that conversation because everything is about blaming the Black woman. And yes, we have to be responsible for our choices. We have to be responsible for the decisions that we make. But as Lolita tells me all the time, she's like, well, Leah, more than one thing can be true at the same time. So we can be accountable for the decisions that we make while also looking at these lawmakers and these judges and saying, well, if a person is a career criminal, why are you letting them out? Why are you not enforcing their full sentences? Why are we not looking at these groups like Black Lives Matter and saying, okay, if Black Lives Matter, then if you have a person who is Black and they are terrorizing other Black people, why aren't you keeping them behind bars? Why aren't you lobbying for that? Black Lives Matter has not been down here in Norfolk, Virginia, protesting for the 5 women, 3 of whom were killed, but the 5 women who were shot by that motherfucker who was mad at his girlfriend. And then when her mother and other family members tried to defend her, he shot all of them. Black Lives Matter is not marching for them. Black Lives Matter was not marching for Breonna Taylor. They were marching to get that man out of prison. They were marching to get him out of jail. When he was the one who shot at the cops, and when they returned fire, he hid behind the couch and left Breonna out in the open to be shot and killed. And then tried to get GoFundMe money off of a death that he caused. Black Lives Matter protested to get him out, but did nothing to try to get justice for Breonna. And all of those cities where these police incidents take place are ran by Democrats. But Black Lives Matter is telling you to vote for Democrats. They're telling you to vote for the very people who want to defund the police. But who's the first person you want to call if you see someone suspicious around the place that you live, or if you feel like someone is following you, or if you get robbed or otherwise harmed, who's the first person you're going to want to call? You're going to want to call the fucking police, right? But when you defund them, guess what that means? They don't have money to pay dispatchers. They don't have money to train new officers. They don't have money to keep their current officers on staff. So when you had that case where that girl was going into her place and a man literally saw her security camera and was still trying to break in, all of you were upset. Why did it take the cops 30 minutes to get there? Well, sweetheart, you all are the same people talking about defunding the police. But when Black women in these spaces were saying, well, no, we don't need to defund the police. We need to perhaps ask for reform, but we need to make sure they have money to do their jobs. You suggested that we were self-hating or race traitors or coons or whatever. What's more coonish than not caring about the women and children of your own race? What's more coonish than not wanting to make sure that the girls of your race will be able to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining? But when we had those conversations here, a lot of women in these spaces had problems with it, and now you're seeing what's happening. And see, I don't live in a place where I have to worry about a lot of that stuff. I don't. So I don't have to worry about the police being defunded. I don't have to worry about living somewhere where someone can just, break into my place and do all manner of evil things about me or to me. I'm only on here because I care about those of you who do live in those places. And I'm telling you, as a middle-aged Black woman, you want to be in a place in your life where no matter what happens to you, you can make sure that you don't have to live around all of that fuckery and niggerdom. And when we tell you that, you call us classist and elitist. Until you see it in real time. Why is it that so many Black women have to go through hell to really understand what's going on? Why can you not trust the lived experiences of other Black women and decide that you don't want to walk down a road that many of us have been down? Many of us have seen the way the men on social media flip-flop. We've seen Black men come onto social media and pretend to be supportive of Black women only for them to flip-flop once they have a certain number of people in their audiences. We've seen it. Why is it like this hamster wheel where generation after generation after generation of Black women has to ignore the lessons from women of the past and go through the same hell over and over and over and over again? Why is that? Why is it that so many Black women will hate the messenger more than you hate the people who are actually fucking you over? You hate us more than the motherfucker that knocked you up a couple of times and left you with kids to raise on your own. You hate us more than you hate the nigga that gave you a fucking STD that you can't get rid of. You hate us more than you hate the motherfucker that's beating your fucking ass every night. You hate us more than you hate the nigga that is cheating on you with your mother, your sister, your cousin, your best friend, your coworkers. But then when you get into some shit, we're expected to stand up for women who would not do the same thing for us. A lot of you want a sisterhood that you're not willing to reciprocate. And that's a problem. Because it's going to get to a point where a lot of Black women who think like me are not going to give a fuck about what happens to y'all. So all I will suggest is that you learn how to understand that just because you dislike another Black woman doesn't mean that you should want to see her destroyed. And we have to learn how to trust the lived experiences of other Black women. And we have to learn how to value each other without trying to exploit each other. And we also have to understand that certain men are entering into these spaces because they want to water down our messages. And even if you don't agree with that, you have the right to not agree with that. But all I would ask is, damn, like, do you have to try to throw a knife in another Black woman's back? If you can look beyond all the shit that the niggers are doing, then why do you have to be so hateful and spiteful towards your fellow Black woman? Anyway, I'm going to keep this short and I'm going to end this now. I know that it is Saturday. It's just shy of 6 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast. So I'm sure that those of you who live in other parts of the U.S., it's much earlier for you. And then for our friends across the pond, it's probably close to noon for you. I hope you have a great weekend, but please keep that in mind. Please don't take shots at other Black women when you're openly supporting and frankly slurping on these niggas who don't give a fuck about any of us. Whether we're divested, self-first, autonomous, or for those of you who are pro-Black, you got to understand these niggas don't give a fuck about any of us. And the sooner you understand that, the better off we'll all be. All right? Have a good one.